It's too late for me, my friends. Once I gave refuge to the notion, even for a moment, there was no turning back to comfort again. Only a lifetime of defeats, more or less spectacular. So I'll march on to your court dates. I'll gather court dates of my own. I'll miss the ones in prisons and the ones who never made it there. The ones who said, onward comrades to our death, with ruin on their breath, who waited centuries on their tongues. Loaded failed manifestos in their guns, as if defeat repeated often could someday mean we had won. Our history's a vacant lot, littered with empty bank accounts, sobbing parents' broken bones. Glorious songs and lengthy prison terms, a handful of moments that were truly our own. In between desperate gasping for air worth breathing and times worth living. In between desperate gasping for air worth breathing and times worth living. Came to this world a loaded handgun, firing at random, hit the people who were closest, not the ones who deserved it. And some of them still don't talk to me, can't say I blame them for a second. I'll try to aim more carefully, but it's too late for that, I reckon. But not too late for regret. I'll walk barefoot and smoke inside any chance I get. But in the meantime, come on, let's go for a ride like we used to, pistols drawn, screaming liberty or death. Although I think we wanted both somehow, but we'll take the cash instead, stack it high, my friend, till it reaches to the sky, and us and God can call it even. And look each other in the eyes like you did to the county prosecutor. Told them that you were the shooter, but they'd never take you alive. Grabbed his pen and stabbed him in the eye, ran off, never to be seen again. When they strike, hit back harder. If you can't just hit back meaner, everybody's got a name and an address and fragile bones to protect what's beating in their chest. Lash out and vanish into mist. Gumshoes can take one in the head. Same to anyone who's ever seen a cop and didn't bludgeon them to death. Same to anyone who's ever had a job and didn't hang their fucking boss off the roof at the post office. So come on, let's take a ride like we used to, daggers drawn, screaming liberty or death. Although I think we wanted both somehow. Came in this world a loaded handgun, I'll leave it empty or not at all. Someday, when I'm a better man than this, I'll listen to the stack of folk punk demo. I'll be eating apples and vegetables and shit by then. I'll breathe in more oxygen than smoke. And now I'll reference books that I haven't read, or that I read so doped up that I couldn't talk. I'll learn to like animals, even your fucking dog. Someday, when I'm a I won't be able to give you a ride to work, 'cause I sold the car to print consent zines for every high school kid in the country. Down the gates, buses will block off the street, 'cause nothing else is worth to stop those fuckers in BP. We'll clog up the system, we'll grind streamline to a stop. Then we'll get arrested by the cops. And if we fight back, then we'll get beaten and arrested on felony charges by the fucking cops. Then we'll all get lined up and shot by fascists and just communists and liberals who've been waiting all along to be the fascist cops. Guess there probably isn't. There's a darkness in my bones. It reaches all the way down to the mud. There's a spark that's in your eyes. It catches flame, and it burns all through my blood. Locked up or raided, it's reason enough to go all in, to raise the stakes, to call the bluff, to burn all the world down for the sake of the ash, for the things that we've got coming through the storm of gasoline and broken glass. This morning I can't tell if I'm anarchist or religious, or if there's even a difference. If I'm waiting for the right time to act, well, is it? There's a darkness in my bones. It reaches all the way down to the mud. There's a spark class, took the number 5 bus all the way east just to see where it ends. Smoked a cigarette at Udall Station, got back on the bus again. We've been this way since you met me, heart's not heavy but empty, and once the socket raised me up, and now there's nothing, so I stumbled home a broken man. Blood on my hands, dead on my feet, shut down where I stand. With blood on my hands, dead on my feet, shut where I stand. Freedom is beautiful and terrible, it's nothing soft and sweet. It's used bullets on the sidewalk, fires across the street. It's you moving in with your new boyfriend in Oakland. It's a pack of wild dogs on a road without a street lamp. It's roaches in the bathroom, mice in the kitchen, and no one left to blame for the way I've been living. It's mice in the kitchen, roaches in the bathroom, no one left to blame. I woke up late in this class again, and so I brewed a pot of coffee and went back to bed. Stacked some bread, selling junk from the back of the shed. Off the fence, cause the front's being washed by the feds, and we've been this way since. We've been alive, reckless and shy, so I set fire to the house and took off running. I hope that you won't mind. I burned down the house to get myself out of this hell alive. I burned down the house to get myself out, I hope you don't mind. Freedom is nothing soft and sweet, it's beautiful and terrible. It's admitting everything that I don't want anyone to know. It's telling people that I love, I stole from them when they weren't looking. It's fucking up so many times, they won't pick up when I call them. It's watching people die cause they got back in it, and knowing that I don't have any say in it. It's watching people die, knowing I don't get any say. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Wait, the rap song?
The rap song, yes.
All right. Yeah. This song I wrote about loving top 40 hip-hop and R&B music. I try to take some of those themes and apply it more to the life of people like me and my friends. But yeah, I wrote it riding around in Baltimore, and it goes like this. If you run a distro, then you will hustle $5 at a time, reaching for that paper. Shit ton, now that's gangsta. I got a fat chain, it goes around my bike. The cops, they're hassling me, but not too bad cause I'm white. And I don't call women bitches, cause that's not very nice. And you know that's just not very nice. And this breakdown is for anyone who's a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan. Trash rules everything around me. Dream cause I'm hungry. Gotta eat, y'all. Trash rules everything around me. Dream cause I'm hungry. Gotta eat, y'all. Trash rules everything around me. Dream cause I'm hungry. Gotta eat, y'all. Trash rules everything around me. Dream cause I'm hungry. Gotta eat, y'all. Yeah! Fucking love you!
Pat the Bunny. A Buddhist IT guy now. So weird. Yep, bonus Pat. Yeah, you're welcome, Asman. I'm high as a kite. I was fucking busted out, dude. I'm like an hour awake, if that. Took my pills, went back to sleep. Drank my shake, went back to sleep. Dragged my ass out of bed finally. Did a few stretches, banged out like a bunch of fucking pull-ups. Got the blood flowing, then just smoked a bowl while I was jamming a Pat. Like, it's Friday. I don't... Okay, so here's how we're gonna start. Here's how we're gonna start. All right, y'all remember that fucking story about the Denver PD committing a mass shooting a couple weeks ago? How the officers fucking thought a dude reached. They thought a dude reached, so they just fucking started lighting up the fucking wall, basically. And they shot like 3 women and 2 dudes, right? Like some ricochets off the ground, some direct hits, fucking. Okay, so Denver PD has, yes, they just opened up a fucking crowd. Yeah. Good news, everyone. I have Jason and Noah Ritter confirmed for this year's charity stream. Oh, that's not, you shouldn't use the Farnsworth voice for that then, Swede. Dude, that sounds like Jason and Noah Ritter are about to die. That's, if you use the Professor Farnsworth voice for things, it's bad things are about to happen. Bad things are about to happen. Yeah, that's fucking, oh, I'm worried for Jason and Noah Ritter now, though. Congratulations, though, Swede. Congratulations. It's what that sounds like. You can't use the Professor Farnsworth voice for good news? That's what he announces they're going on a suicide mission. Good news, everyone. Yeah, I have a package you can deliver to Verticron 3. Oh, what's going on in Verticron 3, Professor? Oh, it's a wonderful planet. It's a completely poisonous atmosphere that will eat through any of your respirators and is likely to destroy the ship upon contact. Good luck! Right? That's Professor Farnsworth voice territory. You're announcing like a suicide mission. Anyway, congratulations, Swede. Denver PD. Good news, everyone. Denver PD. Good news, everyone. Denver PD has come up with the solution to their shooting incident. Very simple. Rather than get cops who don't just randomly spray into crowds of people when somebody just makes a basic gesture or movement, the city of Denver and the Denver Police Department have decided that they've got their solution. They've banned food trucks in the Lodo, in the like downtown area, lower downtown area, from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The 6 people shot were by a food truck. Oh, God, I love these people. God, I love these people. Yep. The fuck is the point of downtown without food trucks? This is bullshit. Damn food truck was coming right for me. Man, I just really need to kiss up to a Swedish tourist one of these days. Okay, don't know where that came from. Those damn food trucks were in our line of fire. It's their fault. Yeah, no, that was sincerely though. That was the Denver, city of Denver and the Denver Police Department's solution to them shooting a bunch of random people in line for a food truck, basically. So, why? Oh, you're going for Sweden. Why would you go for Sweden, Cat? Dude, they're fucking go for any of the other Nordic countries. Sweden's fucked. You don't want to be around a bunch of tweaked up fucking ethno-nationalists, which is what Sweden is these days. Either way, that is fucking hilarious. It'll be tropical by the time it's fucked. So, yeah. So, y'all want to see a fucking video? This is fucking crazy as shit. Like, this is some crazy. Hold on. Alright. This is shit resolution, but apparently it's real. I will buy 100 million ladybugs and do a ladybug invasion in NYC. Everyone spam ladybug raid in the comments.
All I do is cash out.
Oh, I need that to not. Ladybug raid. Swarm 1 of 250,000 has been released in Central Park. Okay. Hold on. This gets crazy. Environmental terrorism. Someone really filed a $350,000 lawsuit against me for releasing some ladybugs. I visited a cricket farm today to double down. How are they going to blame me when they eat all them ladybugs? They got my ass on house arrest. Oh, also, straight up calls out the account. At wishlist18 snitched on my ass. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Long story short, I am no longer a citizen of America. Colombia is my new home and will be for the next 5 years. Ladybug raids aren't illegal in Colombia. Homeboy just straight up peaced out. Yeah. My stepdad had a buddy that did that too, by the way. Cat. Sound like homeboy grew up in New York. Every corner's got a bodega, my man. Every corner's got a bodega. Fucking you speak a smattering to start with if you grew up in New York. It's just inbuilt. And if you ever work a kitchen, job done. Oh, Karina. Gives a shit. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Cat, you'll make do. You make do. You just need the contact, Cat. You just need the contact. Yeah, my boy Jose. I got a boy Jose. Straight up. I still got his number. Fucking dude down in Colombia I fucking camped with and shit up in Zion. Yeah. He's got fucking. You just need a guy. You just need a guy. Just you speak enough to get him to know him here, and then you fuck off. Yeah, Karina, my stepdad had a buddy that did this too. Like he fucked off. He he screwed the United States government out of a lot of money. A lot. And some fraud charges were brought, and he just said fuck off. He just left the country. Duly noticed, Swede. Yeah. Hey, Rad. Thanks for the sub. Time is an illusion. Resub time, doubly so. How you doing? How you doing, Rad? Hope you're doing okay. All right, then, Swede. We'll see if we can't hook up again. Hang out. Yeah, so, yeah, my stepdad's bud from way back in the day. Just fucked off out of the country for a while. Yeah. If you want a hint as to maybe the nature of the associated groups of crime, he, when he fucked off, he went back to Sicily. There you go. So does Colombia not have an extradition agreement with the U.S.? Jay, certain levels of things you can just fly under the radar for. They're not going to bother. They're just not going to bother. This is the truth of the matter. A lot of our justice, our law enforcement branch of our so-called justice system is fundamentally operated upon after you're outside the dragnet on sort of you just fucking up. If he becomes a problem for the locals, yeah, they'll toss his ass back to the U.S. If he keeps his head down and doesn't bother them, they won't give a shit. Yeah, honestly, Che, once you're outside the dragnet, unless you're a PR issue for us, quite honestly, the U.S., the bureaucracy then just starts to engage in paperwork and long form stuff. He could easily, he's not going to be looking at 5 years worth of charges. He's got additional charges now. So he is officially an international fugitive. But like, you can just keep moving. You can just keep moving. He can go from Colombia to Argentina to, Uruguay to Peru to Brazil to, fuck. To Suriname. He could get lost in the jungles of Suriname. Like, you can just disappear in Suriname. And they have gold mining there, and anybody with contacts in North America would probably be useful in some aspect of the smuggling processes, because they like mercury-based gold mining in that part of the world, I do believe. And they control the mercury, so a lot of it's smuggled. So, yeah, either way, like, at the end of the day, he's now an international fugitive. Frankly, he probably could have just hung out in Oaxaca. And he may still, Cat. He's got a few years to burn. Oh, Jesus, Jay. So, yeah, no, it's an interesting concept, but yeah, he just tacked on a whole bunch of years. For sure. He's going to be abroad for a good chunk of his life. He'd probably just stay abroad at that point. Like, that's that point. Just accept it. Oh, by the way, fucking off to Mexico for a week. Where are you going, Cat? Yeah, you don't want an international fugitive wanted for environmental terrorism crimes helping build your compound. That's just bad PR. Yeah, bad optics. When I lived in Oklahoma, we had ladybugs swarm our house every year. I've seen some large amounts of ladybugs in my days. Tennessee and Vermont. Not out here. Hey, Viva. Puerto Vallarta. Cousins kicked the bucket out there and they want to catch up. Fair enough. Not a bad place to have a cousin die. Puerto Vallarta. Fucking Jesus. I also have no plans to visit Canada, no matter how many Canadian friends I make, says Dig. It's a nice place, Dig. It's a nice place. It's... Unless you go to Quebec, the fact of the matter is not much changes. It gets weird in some places, bag milk, and gets super rednecky, but it's like Canadian rednecky. Yeah, it's, but not, I mean, it's, unless you go to Quebec, the fact of the matter is you drive across the border and you're just like, this is just sort of like America Light. You know? If you get into a road accident up there, just know it's legal to apologize. Cats. Sorry, your cousin died. Honestly, at this point, I don't. You don't. It's a fucking cousin off in Mexico. Assumptions were made, Cat. Assumptions were made. Sorry. Oh. Any good attorney would have gotten him off those charges because organic farmers buy them and release them. Let's see. In Canada. Wait. building a compound is already pretty much illegal. RCMP had a really bad habit of camping outside of them, starving people out. Oh. Every time. Jesus Christ. All right. They really know how to treat you. Jesus Christ. I mean, is it what I think it is? Okay, it is. Okay, good. Oh, good. Yeah, cat. I figure it was a free trip to Puerto Vallarta, pretty much. Oh, you probably paying? Yes, it is. I checked. I just had to check. I was like, is this what I think it is? Oh, okay. The main spokesperson of the FLQ, Pierre Valles, or whatever the fuck this cursed old French name was the author of the book Blancs d'Amérique, White of America, published in 1968. For him, Quebec was still colonized and could only achieve freedom through armed revolution. He was inspired by African-American struggle for civil rights. In his view, Quebec workers needed to free themselves from their condition as exploited laborers and second-class citizens. This social group functioned as cheap and abused labor for capitalists who risked losing their jobs at any moment if it served the financial interests of their employers. Okay. Okay. The precocious autobiography of a Quebec terrorist is a work of non-fiction literature written by Pierre, a leader of the Front de Libération de Quebec. It was translated by Jean Pinkham from the original 1968 French language edition titled... I feel like I can do the French, but I can't do the English. Why is that? Why do I think I can get away with this in Spanish and French, but not English? There's a part of my brain that informs me, that's doing like social calculations. That's like, I bet you could get away with doing this in the French or the Spanish, but not the English. I'm not going to attempt it. The translation was published by McClelland and Stewart in 1971. The translated title uses the word as an accurate translation of the equally offensive French word. White of America chronicles the history of the French colonists of North America, first in the New France colonial empire and then in British North America. It's a book about exploitation. It compares, to some extent, the plight of the immigrants to that of blacks in American South, arguing that both groups were forcibly imported to the New World and subsequently exploited by aristocrat capitalists. All right, look, all I'm saying is I kind of want to read this book now. He's using it for a reason. He's using it. He's getting your attention. That's a shock title. It's a shock title, but it seems like look, he wrote the book while serving a 4-year prison sentence for manslaughter in the Manhattan House of Detention for Men in New York City. He was later acquitted on a second trial in 1970. Did he do it? I have to look into that. The book is a class analysis of French-Canadian settlements in social, political, and economic life in Canada since arrival. Vallières argued that French Canadians have been kept in a position of exploited workers by the English upper-class entrepreneurs. He draws parallels between the social and economic position of French Canadians and slaves in the United States, hoping to show that both cultural groups have been brought to the continent to serve as the lower, under, and working class for a common oppressor. He attempts to use the term not solely as cultural or racial indicator, but as a concept encompassing social class and power. I think that may be appropriate. In drawing these comparisons, he states the liberation movements of black people in America have provided inspiration for French Canadians. While it's clear that he has deliberately transformed a racial term into one of a social indicator, he fails to demonstrate that the French in Canada are viewed by the English as inherently inferior based on their culture. Oh no, that one, I feel like instinctually I already know that the English feel the French are fundamentally inferior. Che, like culturally, like historically, culturally, right? Like we're not today, like jokey sort of, you know, fucking Jimmy Carr version of it, but like historically, right? Like the British and the French both felt they were superior to each other, right? Like you were constantly, and then intermarrying, and then, like, but there was always a one-upmanship sort of situation. Well, I mean, you know, but if any of them were ever in a situation where they were truly like isolated from a power base, you were at the mercy of. And I think there's at least some sort of comparison to be drawn there, at least within the like power dynamic. Yeah, it's complex. The royals were like French for millennia. I mean, to be fair, they've been tit for tat for quite some time. I don't know. I want to read this book. Hey, okay, so he erased the French settlement and oppression of Aboriginal people. Okay, cool. I don't like the use of Aboriginal people in Canada. First people, Native people, Indigenous people. I don't. I always think Aboriginal is Australia, but I know it isn't fundamentally. In my head, for some reason, it's wired that way. But either way. Ready for it? You ready for it? Get ready for some stupid. Yeah, I saw. I don't worry about it. All right.
Maybe we need to have some sort of legislation that requires constitution.
There we go. Oh, for fuck's sake. Back to the beginning.
Maybe we need to have some sort of...
There we go. All right, you ready for stupid? It's short, it's quick, but it's painful. This is Representative Lauren Boebert, Republican from Colorado, on Flashpoint.
Maybe we need to have some sort of legislation that requires Constitution alive and biblical citizenship training in our schools. And that's how we get things turned around.
Okay, let's hear it one more time. One more time for those in the back.
Maybe we need to have some sort of legislation that requires Constitution alive and biblical citizenship training in our schools. And that's how we get things turned around.
Let me check that actually, see how they used it. Okay, so, Rad, since Rad pointed it out, I believe, thank you from Australia. Capital A Aboriginal is Australia, where Aboriginal lowercase describes all Indigenous people. They used capital A Aboriginal in this. I'm not going to show it on screen because the word appears numerous times in every fucking paragraph. But yeah, it's capital A Aboriginal, so they did incorrectly use it. Hey, my instincts were correct. Flashpoint sounds like worse than Fox, but I've never heard of them. It burns. Get her out of my face. Biblical citizenship training. I don't trust her unless it's on sugardaddy.com. Theocracy of the United States. Biblical citizenship training. That's gotta go. Fucking. I thought that was Palin. Jay, you're old. Oh yeah, they're just going full Christo Fash now. As a Coloradan, fuck Boebert. Like, what do you all need to do to get rid of her? And who else is yours? Do you guys have Marjorie as well? Fucking, or is it just Boebert? Colorado's rocking right now. Do you have two of the idiots? There's so many. Hey, Ramsey. No, MGT is Georgia. I've so given up keeping track of where the idiots belong at this point. There's just, you know, you've got your old classics. You got fucking Feinstein over in California. You got Mitchie Boy down in fucking Kentucky, right? You know where your problem, your long-term cancers reside. At this point, you know, I don't have room for another Sarah Palin. This bitch isn't even a Sarah Palin. Jesus Christ. You know what? I'd take a Sarah Palin over that crazy bitch. Jesus. Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these fucking dumb Q cunts that are running around now. Dude, I'd take a fucking old school Palin over that at this point. That's how bad these idiots are. Fuck me. Biblical citizenship tests, Jewish space lasers. What the fuck? Ken Buck is a Colorado idiot. Jesus. Yeah. All right. That's who you have. Classic is a kind word. My friend in Arizona lived next to Sarah Palin in Phoenix. Jesus. Maybe I shouldn't go back to Colorado. I really want to, though. Crimson, I know that feels. It's the ones who can still keep their mouth shut who I'm more concerned with. Oh, it's bought and paid for. The whole fucking thing. I don't look. Hi, anarchist. I just. Good luck with that. There's a couple of decent people. It's like that. So many millionaires. Okay. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. It's like Colorado. I mean, I'm over in Nevada. It's just like the same. It's the same. The population centers are holding it purple. And you just got a lot of fucking red outside of you. I'm surprised the Christian nationalists aren't trying to elect Ken Ham. Sweet, were you here? Did you see the insurance claim by the ARC? You had to have. You're tapped into that fucking world. If you didn't, I'm gonna be so sad for you, because that was hilarious. I hope you like laughed your ass off. I bet you laughed your fucking tits off. I've seen that. Yes. Fucking A. Flood claims, insurance claims on the ARC. For floodwaters, rain, water damage to the fucking ark. Brilliant. He's too liberal for many of them. No joke. Oh, Jesus. If I had tits, they would have been laughed off. Yep. Yeah, that was a good fucking headline. That was a good headline. Jesus Christ, the fucking ark filing insurance. For water damage. Apparently they didn't build it to Bible spec. Yep, not built to biblical standards, clearly. Yeah. So here, y'all want a moment? Here you go. Ken Hovind is a convicted wife beater now on being a murderer. Are the Christians ever okay? I mean, they get their moments, but yeah, for the most part, no. I keep up with the Ken Ham shit because it's funny with me. I mean, he is. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Speaking of, let's take a moment here.
In Utah's Salt Lake City, we meet David Matheson.
I know, right?
Described by some as the intellectual godfather of gay cure therapy in America.
Okay. Oh, I know. Sorry.
Father of gay cure therapy in America. For decades, David preached a message that your sexuality can be changed. Married to a woman for more than 30 years, he wrote the book on how to deal with what he called unwanted homosexuality. And now, At the age of 57, David has come out as gay.
I regret the part of perpetuating those ideas. Perpetuating the idea that being gay is a pathology, a disorder. Perpetuating the idea that God is not okay with people being gay, that I regret. I mean, it held me back, and it held a lot of other people back.
David lives in the heart of the Mormon community in Salt Lake City and tells me he regrets the past. Are you sorry for some of the damage and the harm you caused?
Oh, are you kidding? I mean, it's horrifying to think that I was part of a system that held people like me down, and I've had some conversations with other people that have been harmed by it, and it creates a lot of sorrow.
Yeah, this motherfucker needs to know he's got actual blood on his hands. Like, it's not just like, oh, people were held back. Homie, people committed suicide because of your shit. People were, like, committed to residential treatment facility centers where very sketchy shit happened and they turned up dead. Like, people are dead because of you. Like, this isn't, you know, held back.
Part of the system, some of his most influential work was as the architect of retreats offering conversion therapy, with a dossier of techniques for men designed to...
And he profited from it.
...suppress sexual attraction to other men. And he'd claimed these therapies had worked for him too. Let's talk a bit about that, because, you know, you built your entire brand on this idea that you were somebody who had gay feelings, but you'd overcome them. Clearly, we now know you didn't overcome them.
Right.
The world knows that you are a gay man. Mm-hmm. Does that further discredit gay queer therapy? Does it just show that, you know, this was pseudoscience and fraud in many ways? It can't be real, can it?
I'm not sure I'm not sure I know how to answer that question yet. I mean, I will say...
Choose your words very carefully.
I repudiate the idea that therapy can and should be used to change a person's sexual orientation, because it just can't.
Do you see your part in that then, and that hurt and that harm?
Absolutely I do. I mean, I can think of things that I created that I put into these weekends, and I think back on it, and honestly, I want to crawl into myself, because there's this sense of, there's this cringe. There's this sense of, oh my gosh, I used to think that was a good idea.
Things like what?
There's a certain amount of holding that goes on, like guys holding guys. A lot of guys love it. Other guys, it creates a real problem for them. But something that makes me cringe even more is that on a different retreat, there's a lot of nudity in it. And as we created that, the other creator and I thought, this will be really relieving for men, because all the shame about their bodies and all the weirdness about other men's bodies will go away. And for us, that was the effect that that kind of thing had. But there are a lot of other men that really got freaked out by that.
I want to see her eviscerate him. I want to see her hold him. This is, whoever this person is, I did not pay any attention to, what was it, 319. Minnie Stephenson. All right. This is your time to shine. You've got 13 minutes here. I want her to convince me she is a journalist and not just some fucking shitty reporter, right? Like, I want you to fucking, this guy... This is, yeah, come on, Channel 4. Please be one of your good reports. Like, Jesus. Because Channel 4 can do good work. I've seen them do good work. I want to see her fucking shred this dude. This dude's slimy as shit.
And for us, that was the effect that that kind of thing had. But there are a lot of other men that really got freaked out by that. And so now I look back on that and I'm like, please tell me that didn't happen. Please tell me we didn't create that in there.
You are a trained therapist. Surely you should have spotted these signs. You've been doing it for nearly 20 years.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's part of my culpability.
Journey into manhood changed my life. I learned that I really could change and move away from attraction to my own gender.
This is the Woodland Gay Conversion Retreat David Matheson co-founded. It still runs courses without him. The advert paints a utopian picture where men can resolve issues around what they call SSA, same-sex attraction. One man who attended the camp on a number of occasions told us he was subjected to traumatic psychodrama techniques, and homophobic scenarios were recreated, which left him feeling suicidal years later. The retreat denies this and say these therapies were designed to heal and remove painful memories, and that many people benefited. We spoke to somebody who's been on one of the retreats.
Okay, I have questions. My first question is immediately, he founded this facility, but they still run courses without him. Is he still financially tied to this facility? Is he still profiting directly from it? Have all ties been severed? Because the way that was stated sounds like he still has a relationship with this facility. He merely isn't actively there. Like he's distanced himself from it. Is he still profiting from it? Because there's a legal construct with being the founder of this facility that would be associated with it in some capacity, and there's likely a profit motive there. What was it? What was this place called? Journey into Manhood? Okay. How do I... Brothers Road? No. Oh, yeah, wait. SSA. Who we are. Founding and growth. Yes, tell me. Oh, no. I don't think this is... Maybe? What's this dude's name again? Does anybody remember this dude's name? It's Utah. 342.
Meet David Matheson.
David Matheson, thank you. It is actually, okay. It's called Brothers Road. Hold on. Yeah. PCC, where am I seeing this? People Can Change. Okay, Brothers on a Road Less Traveled is an American nonprofit organization supporting men who wish to reduce or eliminate their homosexual desires, formerly known as People Can Change. The organization was founded in year 2000. I got here because David Matheson led the organization Journey into Manhood. Matheson, protege of Nicholas Joseph Nicolsley, or whatever this, founded the National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality, NARTH. He got a master's in counseling and guidance from Brigham Young, by the way. Okay, so the Brothers on a Road Less Traveled is the nonprofit for the group, and the program is Journey into Manhood. Brothers Road is also a shortening of it. They use both. It's Brothers Road. The organization changed its name to Brothers on a Road Less Traveled, Brothers Road for short, in 2016. So there you go. Look up the Form 990 for nonprofit filings, and that'll break out the expenses. Okay, Form 990. How do I look up someone's form, a 990 form? Swede. Ooh, got it. Well, wait, hang on. Jesus Christ. Thank you. Ooh, okay. They're registered in Virginia. Nine training sessions. Oh, here, I'm doing this on the wrong screen. Jesus. All right. Load the rest. And flip that so we don't have to deal with that much light. Hey, Wither. In Interfaith Fellowship, we provide peer support for men to voluntarily address issues related to masculinity and sexuality in affirming ways that align with their own personal faith values and life goals. No liabilities, assets, end of year, 64, not assets or fund. Total expenses, 200,000. Interesting. Salaries, other compensations. So 58,000 employee benefits is what they're reporting out. Professional fundraising expenses. Oh, what do you bet? I owe other expenses here. 142,000. Dude, you could probably hide a lot of sins in the other expenses. What kind of sins can you hide in the other expenses? All right, back to it.
Described by some as the intellectual godfather of gay cure therapy in America. For decades, Dave...
Okay, so it's the slush fund. Got it. Here?
Attraction to my own gender.
This is the Woodland Gay Conversion Retreat David Matheson co-founded. It still runs courses without him. The advert paints a utopian picture where men can resolve issues around what they call SSA, same-sex attraction.
Yeah,
one man who attended the camp on a
way.
number of occasions told us he was subjected to traumatic psychodrama techniques, and homophobic scenarios were recreated, which left him feeling suicidal years later. The retreat denies this and say these therapies were designed to heal and remove painful memories, and that many people benefited. We spoke to somebody who's been on one of the retreats that you designed, Journey into Manhood, and their experience sounds very different to the experience that you're painting. They said that, I can read them to you, they said they were cuddling ex-gay men, they recreated aggressive locker room scenarios, blindfolding people. Why were they designed? Was it supposed to clear you of being gay? I would like to know why.
Some of the stuff that you're saying was stuff that I was involved in co-creating. I mean, some of that stuff came out of my mind. And we were well intended, but what we didn't think about at the time was, okay, it may be helpful to these 5, but these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 over here could get really messed up by that.
So do you denounce these retreats?
If those retreats are doing that kind of stuff, they need to stop.
Do you think gay cure therapy should be banned in America?
Any therapy that is based on the idea that being gay is a psychological disorder, which it's not, that believes that being gay is wrong or bad, which it's not, and that it can be changed and ought to be changed. Any therapy based on that idea has a great potential of harming people. And that kind of therapy should be stopped.
Last week, David Matheson pulled his book on unwanted homosexuality, saying
that was a lot of fucking words. That was a lot of fucking words. You know what that question should have been, how that answer should have been structured? Yes. That was a lot of fucking words.
He no longer agreed with many aspects of it. Do you think the reason why you became involved in all of these movements and gravitated towards it was because you felt a sense of shame?
It was very much motivated, particularly in the beginning, by the idea that I need to believe.
Every time he speaks, Meltdown, every time he speaks, he's got to undo the zip. He just, all right, guys, what I want you to do is...
believe I can change, and so I need to try my hardest to help you change.
Do you think you're still carrying that gay shame?
One of the really uncomfortable things that I've been discovering is my own homophobia. And as I look back, I see that I clearly had lots of homophobia. And I'll still have these stigmas about gay people. Like I'll learn that someone's gay and I'll have this thought, this kind of homophobic thought, and I'm like, Dave, that's you too. So homophobia, when it's in you, internalized homophobia, that's a really real thing and a really tough thing to work through.
You sound surprised by it, but of course you're a former gay conversion therapist, but you're surprised by your own homophobia.
I'm surprised that it's still so strongly there. Yeah.
While David Matheson reflects on his own instrumental role, after years of campaigning by LGBT activists, this month, New York banned conversion therapy for minors, making it the 15th state to do so. After overwhelming evidence, it causes psychological damage, anxiety, and shame. Despite this, in most of America today, this now widely discredited practice still remains legal.
Minnie Stevenson with that exclusive. Well, joining me now from New York City is Chaim Levin, who twice attended retreats co-founded by David Matheson. Can I just ask you to react to that, first of all? I mean, what do you make of what he's been saying?
You know, I feel like he seems to be interested in understanding the harm that he's done, but I don't feel that he's gone far enough at this point in terms of repudiating his past work. And I think he has a ways to go in that department.
Can I ask, how did you end up going on these retreats? Not once, but twice, as I understand.
First one didn't take.
Well, so I grew up in an ultra-Orthodox community in Brooklyn, and
I could tell.
At the age of 17, I was outed in my yeshiva, which is a religious school, and a rabbi recommended that I seek out a Jewish organization that is now doesn't exist anymore, called Jonah, and part of their program included going on these retreats. I went on the first one in June of 2007 when I was 2 weeks into my 18th year. And then about a year later, right before I stopped doing the program, because I felt like maybe I needed another go at it, and that was also part of the advice given to me by the people at Jonah.
Did you believe that
how much it cost?
You could be converted?
That's my question.
Absolutely. I never knew that gay people existed and had regular lives and were able to be healthy members of society. I had never known any actually out gay people, so...
Yeah, see, that's my question about all of this. It's like, yeah. People are making a lot of money doing something that we know, like, causes people to fucking die, right? Like, so... More about that. It's not just like, oh, hey, it's a bad thing and blah, 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 blah. This shit ain't free. It's like those fucking turn and burn drug treatment facilities that just bill the fuck out of insurances, right? This is like $30K for a fucking 6-week stay and shit. What's the cost of these things? Because this is also a scam. It's not just some, hey, let's harm queer kids. It's also, hey, let's make a lot of money harming queer kids. So in each one of these instances, somebody's profiting a bit from it.
And I also had very limited secular education growing up, so I absolutely believe that.
9.23 billion a year? Interesting.
The activities on the workshop have been, the retreats
That's
have been
real
described,
money.
sound quite traumatic.
They were. And myself and a few of my friends were part of a lawsuit against that Jewish organization where we were able to really bring all these practices into the eyes of a courtroom and examine it. And they are nothing short of torturous, and they're definitely not therapeutic. And it's really sad that they're continuing. And it's deeply troubling to me personally as someone who's been through it.
So what more do you want David Matheson to do, and the other people who are still involved in this in many states across the US?
Well, you know, I listened carefully to what David said, and he stopped short of actually repudiating the very weekend that he founded. And I think the first step would be to him to outright say, I don't believe in this program anymore, and this entire community, this entire organization needs to be shut down, the organization and the culture that he created. That would be a good first step. And the other people who are practicing this, who frequently criticize people like myself who speak out about it, you know, I would say to them, you can't help people while hurting other people. And what is happening on these weekends and in these group settings is predatory, dangerous, and irresponsible. And beyond that is not therapy and doesn't work. It's a complete fraud. And
okay, I'm good with you. Oh, he did the tour. He did the rounds. Oh, he did the rounds.
David, you're now in your 50s. You were in a marriage with a woman for more than 30 years.
Oh, how lovely. He did the press junket rounds. Duly noted, Che. 9.3 billion. Maybe we should start one of our own, only we don't do any of that and call Child Protective Services once the check's clear. I wonder how long you could run that racket before somebody'd fucking catch on. And the anti-gays, right? The fucking evangelical stuff, they'd start spreading your name. You'd have to fucking start just burning LLCs and shit like that, shell companies, fucking constantly spit up new names. You're gonna need 100 operating names. Oh God, that probably counts as fraud too. That probably counts as fraud because we expected them to hook our child's genitals up to a car battery and show them pictures of same-sex pornography to arouse them and then shock said genitals. And they did not shock my child's genitals with a car battery. This is fraud. In this country, you know what? I don't put it past any fucking particular court at this point. At this point, I could see that ruling. I can see that headline. Mississippi court rules fraud in case of, yeah, I could see it. Fucking, I doubt there'd still be any financial connection between the brothers, Oregon, David. Fair enough. Being married to a woman for 30 years when you're gay sounds like a unique form of torture. False advertising. I ordered torture and got summer camp. Yeah. This country? Yeah, I could see it. So, all right. Sounds like you're ready for the locker room sim trading session. Where is this guy? Who is this guy? Yes. Okay. Give me a second. Boom. This guy. Okay. Why is this even block this element? Create. Quit it. All right. Fucking all right. Okay. Oh. So this guy, Jonathan Shelley, he's the pastor at the Steadfast Church in Hurst, Texas. He usually makes headlines like, oh God, God. The last one I remember of him was like there was an accident at a pride parade in like Florida, and he said he was celebrating the accident at the fag parade. He's like, hey, there's an accident at the fag parade. Yay, everybody. Like, he's literally celebrating it. He's great people. He's great people. Some of the best things come out of his mouth. Well, guess who he hates? He specifically called out Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's, right to everyone. Quote, I will never vote for a woman politician. Oh, Major Taylor Greene or whatever. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a conservative. She's on InfoWars. She's a woman. She's not going to fix this country. Ugh, it's sick how many men today let women just run our country because they're too cowardly to stand up to silly women. We need men to stand up and say, get back in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. And you know what? Some pastors need to tell their wives to do it too. Gotta love infighting. In before Kai's Fuentes arc. Our legal defense, the entire industry is fraud plus abuse. We took out the abuse. Fair enough. Jesus didn't vote for any women. Yeah, I love it. Fucking this dude's shitting all over on the female politicians. He's like, yeah, fuck the conservatives. What are you doing voting for women? Everyone say hi to Amanda Stanfill. Hi, Amanda. She's the manager for global intelligence for retail ops for Starbucks. She's a former comprehensive risk management analyst for intelligence analyst for Pinkerton. Prior to that, she worked 6 years at the Central Intelligence Agency and specifically program manager for counter narcotics and organized crime. She's working for Starbucks now in anti-union capacity. Yes, they Starbucks hired a literal former spook who worked for Pinkerton on top of that to be their global intelligence for manager of global intelligence for retail operations. Oh. Hey, why? Hi, my name's Kai, Mr. X fan. I'm an anarchist, not a fan of China either. So if China is so great, then why aren't we using Chinese social media? Heck, even TikTok owned by China has turned into Western-centric social media. Anyway, yes, they love their employees. Puka, yuck, scabby spy. Yeah. So, Indiana, Representative John Bartlett of Indiana. Oh, hey, Caboose, just wanted you to know, Caboose, did you see the thing about DreamWorks? Where is that? I have that. Yeah. DreamWorks Animation is gonna they're releasing their proprietary renderer Moonray as open source software later this year. So like How to Train Your Dragon, Croods, The Bad Guys, Puss in Boots, all that shit's done on Moonray apparently. They're gonna release it as open source. It's Moonray is also capable of using distributed computational framework, ARIS, and that will be included in the open source code base as well. So the Moonray and Eris will be open source, so people can. Well, we'll see. You'll see, I suppose, Caboose. Yeah, they're open sourcing the distributed framework for running it, as well as the renders software as well. So, you know, I want to make sure Caboose got a heads up on that one though, because they want to. Because they see they see some sort of advantage in doing it, probably because they've got new stuff coming down the pipeline anyway. And they're like, yeah, open source it. So, John Bartlett, he's a representative for District 95 in Indiana. He introduced an amendment to the anti-abortion bill that they were attempting to pass, outlawing erectile dysfunction drugs. Quote, "We're forcing young girls to be mothers, but not forcing the men to be fathers. If an unwanted pregnancy is an act of God, then impotency must be an act of God." Yeah. So, fun guy, it seems like. I like him. So, guess what the 7th most watched category on Twitch now is, y'all? Meltdown. It's gambling. It's gambling. It's gambling. It's gambling. It's the crypto gambling. It's the crypto gambling. It's gambling. Zippy got it. Gambling. It's gambling. It's quickly on the rise. It's quickly on the rise. Dude, there's a lot of money being dropped. There's a lot of fucking money being dropped. It's getting stupid, y'all. It's getting stupid. Stake.com apparently is the like asshole leader of this one. They're like the big money. They're the brand apparently. So like it's crypto. It's chatbot redeem. So what is it? Users exchange money for cryptocurrencies, which then they use to wager on various games of chance. So if current cryptocurrency isn't real money legally, it's a fun. Oh my god. Including slots, blackjack, and roulette. Chabot redeemed the offer and dove into the slot scene on stake. Okay, so Chabot began. It's this story about Enrique Chabot. Okay, so he was watching XQC, and that's where this got picked up on. Okay. Holy shit, this guy dropped 40K in 2 months and then took out two $20,000 bank loans and burned through that money. Then he declared bankruptcy. So he burned 80K in a few months. I mean, yeah, he's a gambling addict. This is what these are designed to take advantage of, is people like this who it just hits the wiring. Self-made rich boy, thanks for the follow. Watching the Twitch streamers festively gambling on the site gave me a reason to go on stake, like I was a part of what they were doing, he told a Bloomberg employee interview. Slots, that's what it's called. The category is slots. Yeah, slots. All right. Look, it's bad form to play people specifically, but okay, I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of my way. Let's look. These Momo. These crypto casinos are like double scams. It's illegal for U.S. citizens to play them, so promoters tell them to use VPNs to access them, but conditions say they can seize your money if you use a VPN to circumvent. And as far as U.S. law is concerned, as long as you're the one in the wrong, not the crypto casino, so you got no way to get your money back. Yeah, it sounds about right. All right. Yeah, oh yeah, Amazon's getting out of this. Like this is making Amazon money for sure. For sure. We got 32,000 people watching this. All right, so top one, there's a big drop off. I mean, this right here, huge fucking red flag, homie. I mean, yes, rad, but I mean, you know, I live in Vegas, man. Yeah. I really want to view like a clip of it. Can we, is it bad for, can we watch clips? Popular clips. Yeah. I want to see a clip. We watch people's clips all the time. That's totally fine. I want to see this. What is this?
I'd like a safety rainbow, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm on.
Come on, you can't do this in all the way, bitch.
We're
all
good,
the way.
bro. We're good. It's already a massive hit.
I know, but I want it all the way, dude. There's no reason for this. You've been here for years.
I know.
All the fucking way, dude. This is insane.
Oh, wow. Come on, pussy.
Just full orange last
Keep going, bitch.
Full orange to orange. Orange, you glad we're here? Come on.
Go. Right here. Good.
Keep us
good.
alive at 150.
Just that's
there.
150. Oh, there it is.
There's a 300. What was that? 300. I thought it was
Last
3
one.
million.
Oh, that's huge. 500.
Keep us in.
That's 5.5.
Keep us in.
Yes.
Keep us
nice.
in. Yep. Keep us in.
Keep it
Keep
in.
us all the way, bitch.
Save it.
All the way, bitch.
Save it, bitch.
Save us.
Oh,
Save it.
that's huge,
I'll
though.
take it, dude.
Massive,
Wow,
man.
That's
dude.
massive.
What, you went right back. All right, back
Oh,
here.
that, bro.
This is the modern slot machines in Vegas do this exact same kind of thing. So let me just get banned. They do even larger grids now, too. It's this sort of shit. There you go. There you go. Here's one at the Strat. Right? Same sort of shit. Oh, I'm sure, Big Bear. I'm sure there's all sorts of scams. Absolutely invigorating. Let me check this account. Hold on. Oh, July 29th. Oh, dear sweet Jesus. Homie. All right.
There was the stage, 2 red lights and a dodgy PA. You trod the planks way back then, and it's strange that you're here again, here again. And I wish I knew the right words to make you feel better. Walk out of this place and defeat them in your secret battle.
Okay, that's all we're gonna do. It's all we're gonna do. But yeah, so yeah, the gambling category, the slots category apparently is now like it's hitting. Fuck, I don't know. I mean, look, gambling's just a dangerous fucking thing. It's a dangerous thing for a percentage of the population. And some social groups are even more susceptible. Yeah. The slots are hitting. That song was given by Rad Hom. It's an anti-slot machine protest song for people to listen to. It's "Blow Up the Pokies" by the Whitlams. And it's a bop. It's a jam. Che, that's what that song is about. Look, should people be allowed to gamble? Yes, absolutely. Che stares at all the autistics and ADHD folks. Stay away from the slots. There's a whole group of there's like entire like segments of the population that are very susceptible to gambling addiction. And if you're predisposed to any addictive behavior to start with, you're already. But you don't have to be an addictive personality type to end up as a gambling addict. There's a whole host of like sort of logical predispositions that can sort of trend that direction. Yeah. Nice. Hate slots because it's awful ratios. Roulette is mathematical odds one consider. Yeah. Ha! My ADHD makes slots really boring. Caboose. I wonder how you'd feel about like a high fucking like hand of poker. I'm just thinking like like a $10,000 hand of poker. What that do for you? Don't know. I do enough stupid gambling stuff in games without money. Yeah, right, public? It's just, I know the math behind it, and I know how much of a scam it is, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Tempting. I do like poker. See? There we go. That's why we have a variety of gambling styles and types. We'll find one for you. In-person casino streaming is also really popular. I would like to debate or discuss just anything. Oh, Jesus. I see you count yourself. Are you watching me while you stream? That's weird. But you seem super focused. You're counting yourself as a Hegelian, correct? Tiananmen Square. Dude, I'm surprised they let you get away with that one. Good on you. Jesus, I mean, you know what? It survived this long with the fucking backdrop image. Good on you, Tiananmen. I wonder if freemium profits have hit casino profits level yet. You know, it's worth talking about, Progressive. I bet fucking Bobby has those numbers. I bet Bobby's got those numbers at hand. Hey, Cass, is Bobby sitting near anywhere? How much does gambling, how much do the casinos make globally? Yeah, Caboose, slots are the number one take for the house. Oh, no. Also, Ice Krieg, because apparently I just checked in on this. Ice Krieg. Oh, Cass, don't bother. Don't bother him. He's at work handling a concert. Do not text Bobby like that, Cass. Don't worry about it. It's Friday. Let's just have a conversation. If he wants to just experience Socratic Kai, I'll just ask some questions. Whoa, Jesus. All right, let's see. I would like to speak about changing the world and making these changes in terms of culture, teaching Hegel, oh God, and universal logic worldwide to place genuine philosophy back in its central place. I don't want a world ruled by philosopher kings. We can just skip that already. To make a global worker-owned cooperative social enterprise app, and raise a lot of funds to spread it worldwide, like Uber. And 3, to make our funded research labs where citizens own the patents to the CRISPR cures that are coming currently at $500,000 a cure. That one I can get behind. Public, $287 billion in 21, expected to hit $458 in 22. Yeah. Oh. Yes. Okay, so $287 billion in 21, but was still COVID. Expected at 458. So about approaching $500 billion. I don't think the freemium market has even approached that yet. No, they're still they're still kicking it around in the single billions. Yeah, either way. You can look up various Google I/O conference stats. And 98% of worldwide Google Play revenue comes from freemium apps and that amount, and 1.9 billion. No, they're not even in the same league. So yeah, whoever posited this, it was worth discussing, but yeah, no, they're not in the same league. We're talking a couple few billion versus $500 billion. Yeah, so definitely a different category of entity. All right, get them on the air. Spirit, let's do this. Yeah, they're the woo-woos. I know. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk to this guy, Spirit Man 23. And this is gonna get weird probably. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna throw some Pat on for a second. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, grab some more water, and leave you with some Pat. I'll be right back.
I lay down an awful wreck, pissing out my window and smoking in bed. The good don't die young, they just haven't had time to fuck up the same as the rest of us yet. I want nothing, nothing at all. I'd be driving drunk if I still got drunk. Rev the ignition straight onto oblivion, into a void as pure as they come. But if we aren't dead yet, then let's not live as ghosts. And if we aren't in jail, then we can leave the house. And I'll show you that there's reason to hope in the spray paint that's all over downtown. So let's fill up our shopping carts with the things we need and just roll out the front door, past the cashiers and security guards. Whoa. And the magnets trip the wheel locks before we even clear the parking lot and take off running through the neighbor's yard. I lay down an awful wreck, mumbling to myself about the government again, and maybe postmodernism's just an extended tantrum about how we don't have our flying cars yet. I want nothing, nothing from them. I'd smash every machine if I didn't have one. Rev the ignition straight onto oblivion, into a void as pure as they come. But if we aren't dead yet, then let's not live as ghosts. And if we aren't in jail, then we can leave the house. And I'll show you that there's reason to hope in the spray paint that's all over downtown. So meet me at the diner at 6 o'clock on every Wednesday night, and we'll get some coffee and pie. Whoa. And I'll smile, tip the waiter, get a ride home, thanks for the favor, and hope that that's enough to build a life.
Anyway, I'm back, as you can see. Yeah, I see that cupcake. What? Oh, that? Okay. I'll give you your birthday spin for sure. Just remind me, Zippy. I will. I'll give you exactly what you want. I know what you want. I'll get you what you want. I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I like Michael Jordan. Yeah. He's the GOAT. Oh no. I know what you're after, Zippy. We should get an emote of your leg going up and down when you're doing pull-ups. We'll see if we can't get an animated emote for that. Yeah, you know what? That's amusing. That's funny. Yeah, I haven't used any of the animated emote slots yet. Oh, I didn't. Okay, he's already by the welcomed. I didn't start the welcome timer, but he got past the welcome. So this should be, I mean, could be weird, but at least not drunk. Oh, tech support. I'm sorry. Go to voice chat. I'll move you to on air. Really? What you got? Facebook, Facebook. Where's... Oh, hey, COVID buddies. Oh, go to voice chat. Got punk. I got through the welcome page drunk. Got, you're an oasis in a desert of shit fuckery, and you know it. All right. Let's see whatever this is going to be. Okay.
Hi, is this the proudly, what is it? Proudly radical.
You need to turn me off in the background first because we can hear the feedback loop. But second, yes, it is. My name is Kai. Kai. I just need you to count to 5 for me, please, and thank you, so I can get you leveled on volume.
Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. No, Vivo, we didn't do the timer, but he made it through the timer, so good on him. Oh, good on you, Caboose. I'm glad you're feeling better, man. You're probably going to need to mute your Discord as well, because we can hear every single message coming in. Or notification.
Okay, I'm new to this.
Okay, so, hi, my name's Kai. How shall I address you? Spirit man?
Sure, Spirit Man or Mark is fine.
Mark, we'll go with Mark. Dig, I'm not entirely sure either. So, Mark, I will just sort of open the floor to you for a moment. What do you want to talk about, man?
Well, this is all new for me. I got on Twitch a couple of days ago because I was chatting with somebody, I think on YouTube, when I was making these sessions on Hegel. And they liked what I had said, and they said, you need to get on Discord. I'm like, what's Discord? So I got on Discord, and I met a bunch of people on their servers, and then they said, oh man, you're really intense, you need to create your own server. So they helped me create my own server, and then said, man, you need to get on Twitter, and you need to get on Twitch. And I said, okay, I know about Twitter, what's Twitch? And now we have open broadcasting software going. We got my YouTube videos playing in the background of this Hegel, this new Hegel interpretation. And the whole point of all this was I worked for Uber for the last 3 years, and it freaked me out so badly that I thought we need to do something because we're heading in a direction that is extremely concerning. We have the wrong global spirit, it feels like, and it's going to create this incredible stratification very soon unless we do something that either copies them or excels beyond that in a higher spirit, a higher mode of communicating and relating to each other, because I've actually been organizing for about 10 or 12 years, and there's always this tension that rips good-seeking teams apart when the pressure is on. So I tried to perfect how to create amazing high-performance teams that were voluntary. And I kind of found out that there is this weird twisting that goes on. And when I studied philosophy, I found out that the only philosopher who deals with it on the fundamental metaphysical and psychological level was Hegel. So I did a deep dive during the pandemic and spent about 3,000 hours reading him directly in his Science of Logic. And I found that he does have the answer. He's not talking meaningless verbiage. He has a profound universal logic that is missing currently, which is why nobody seems to get along. And we have this growing anxiety and depression worldwide that makes our friendships feel fragile, like we're alone, and we have this existential crisis growing that we can't work together to address things like Uber or even climate change or anything really. And I thought, okay, we need to fix the culture problem, but we need to do something that's a revolution, but not a violent one. So I decided to call this a peaceful revolution, where it has 3 elements. The first one is the cultural bit I just told you, how to create wise love, basically. so we can actually get along long enough to do something at scale. And then the second one is, once we're getting along, what do we actually do for work? We have to take back the labor power so that we can actually generate income that's outside of, or at least sublating, the current financial global system that's creating incredibly high levels of wealth concentration, the likes of which we've never really seen before. They say in the next 8 years, 1/3 of all global wealth will go to the top 1%. And it's not because we have evil people and Illuminati and all this. It doesn't have to be conspiratorial. It's just network theory and how wealth concentrates naturally. And so if we don't do something about the labor process, that's going to continue no matter what. And then we're going to end up working for apps like Uber that hire thousands of social scientists and psychologists to watch you use the app to make you work longer for less. And I worked that for a couple of years, and I saw it for myself. So that's coming. That's the future of work. And then on top of that, there's this CRISPR stuff that won the Nobel Prize, and it sounds like how you know about it. But if we don't get the CRISPR cures, at least the patents, in the hands of the public, they're going to make trillions and trillions of dollars off of human suffering. In fact, 75,000 diseases can now be cured, and it's only a matter of time until they're turned into profit-maximizing events. So we need to start our own CRISPR labs that are under these global, worker-owned, cooperative, social enterprise systems if we're going to turn this around. So that's where I kind of come to Twitter and Twitch to try and meet people who have the sort of desire and the capacity to sort of start at a high level and really make this a practical reality using our new global platforms that none of the leaders of the past really had. So we have an opportunity like never before. And somebody said I should check out the politics tab, and you were there. And there's something about your vibe that just said this guy might be radical enough to have wisdom and know what I'm talking about, or at least critique it to make sure that I've done my homework. So thank you very much for actually taking my messages. I have to thank all the people who have gotten me this far, because I got a little bit of a cheer team now. So I just want to say thanks, Kai.
Okay, so we'll start at the very top. We need to customize your notifications for Discord so that we don't hear every message come in for every server that you're attached to right now. Because I'll tell you right now, chat is losing their fucking minds having to hear all these messages.
Sorry, it's very busy. I got lots on the go, so I don't know how to work it. I just got on it, right? So what do I do?
Well, it depends where the messages are coming from. Are you on a call with all of those people at present?
Yeah, I got 5 live streams going. So
Okay.
Twitch, YouTube, Zoom, Facebook, Discord, and I'm trying to get Reddit and TikTok. But
Okay.
yeah, I got 5.
Whoever got him connected to Discord, you know what you must do. Get him on, fix his notification sounds. He's getting notification sounds for everything. All right. The messages are coming from the house. All right. So with that addressed, we'll start at the top, because basically, look, we can address the latter stuff later. Let's do this in order. Let's start at the top, because the cornerstone or the keystone of this project is this revelatory knowledge from this 3,100-hour expedition into Hegel that you've taken. What is the revelatory information? What is the methodology? What is the art to the craft that's going to hold large-scale human beings together in a cooperative rather than competitive format?
It's literally just logic. And I found on your channel the notifications. I muted yours, but how do I do everybody's? Do I have to go one by one and mute them all?
The channels, yes.
Okay, I got like 10.
They've
been really signing me up.
Earbuds would be easier for now.
Okay, one sec. I'll put them in there. But I guess to answer your question, while I'm putting this in here, I'm sorry, chat, if you're losing your minds. I'll get this on tab here. Hold on. Okay, is that better?
So much better. Rad, you can find somebody tell the ones that literally left to, like, they can come back. The ones that like stepped away. Yeah. Somebody in chat fucking literally like, yeah, people are, I can hear my own thoughts now. Yeah, that was slowly driving people mad. Hey, Deirdre. Okay, so yes, so what are you proposing? How are you going to get this global reformatory, like trivium-based pedagogical style implemented? Because if it's as simple as teaching logic, grammar, and rhetoric, right? Like if we're just going back to a trivium education, then that's a well-known pedagogical style. How do we return to that? How do we undo the harm that's done at the same time as counter those forces? Because the people that you're opposed to, the power forces, the entities, are going to be at least aware. Amazon knows when union organizing happens, and they take counter-revolutionary steps to oppose that. How do you propose we implement this global stratagem of a new pedagogical style at the same time as surreptitiously doing it?
Oh, wow, that was great. What's trivium, first of all? What is this trivium?
It's an old style pedagogical method of teaching. The foundational techniques for education should be seen as logic, grammar, and rhetoric. So if you teach a child how to think, how to speak, and how to have a discussion back and forth, and how to, basic Kantian interpretation of Hegel, right? The synthesis. If you can teach them how to achieve synthesis, then they're off to the races. Then you can teach them engineering or whatever you fucking want to teach them down the road. But the concept behind that is the core of education should become this triumvirate. And so if you're hearkening back to a return of like this particular style of learning as this core concept that's going to become the harmonic that binds humanity together and allows us to achieve these grand scale macro oppositions to authoritarian forces throughout the world, how do we do that? How did the tires meet the road on that one?
That's amazing. So I'm so glad you're starting realistically. So yes, it's kind of like that kind of education, except that the way we were teaching it in the past was what Hegel would call abstract. So what we need in the world today is an incredible amount of concrete thinking that takes those three areas and shows that they're actually one logic. It makes it incredibly easy to learn basically the sum total of all human knowledge in a very simple logic, which of course we know is the thesis, antithesis, synthesis. But when you talk about that triad, it itself is abstract that it doesn't seem like anybody would ever want to apply it, and it seems tedious. Hegel himself calls it trite, and he blasts Kant for applying it. And he says, look, I don't use the triad. We don't use thesis, antithesis, synthesis in his system. But that's only what he says in the preface to his first works. What he actually says is that it's the dead way of applying the triad that's the problem. And that at the end of his system, if you can endure it, he actually endorses the triad, but you have to do it in the living way. So what we have to change about what is called the trivium education is we have to make it living. So logic, the way we think about it now, is so tedious and boring, nobody wants to do it. That's why it's not actually happening. So how do you make logic living? Well, you have to introduce the universal version of it, which is what Hegel's science of logic is. But when you look at the science of logic, it's regarded as the most difficult text ever written by a human being. I don't know if you've ever tried to read it, Kai?
Yes, but here's I'm gonna roll you back again. I get it. There's secret knowledge contained within Hegel that may be the key to saving humanity. I'm not opposing that, and I don't really need to know more about it, frankly. What I need to know is how you plan on implementing this knowledge? How do you get this into the hands and the heads and the hearts of a farmer in China, a blue collar worker that's been laid off in the Rust Belt, a Beverly Hills heiress who's never had to work a day in her life, a politician who's a lifelong politician and is embedded, a lawyer who's working the Manhattan Circuit Court? How do you propose to get this knowledge, this transformational knowledge into use?
So that's what I'm working on now. Is I actually created a 38 session of spirit course where we're actually teaching Hegel in a bunch of different ways that appeal to all those demographics, and they're like exact contradictions.
Does it teach to a 4-year-old?
Yeah, actually, there's a section on the website that says, what's the point of this? And we boil it down on 5 levels.
Where's the website?
The first level, the one is called wewa.com, wewa.com. That's what I had when that's what I was using when I had a hunger strike. And now I'm just using YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and type in Hegel SOS, you'll pull up the sessions I put on there, and the titles are kind of a little bit sensational. But they're actually true.
Wait. YouTube, or you?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your where's your spirit? Okay, I see your channel.
Yeah, my links are on the. It might be on my Discord actually, but if you type in Spirit Peaceful Revolution, it pops up my channel, and I put the hunger strike videos there, and I also put the sessions of spirit. Go to playlist actually. Up at the top there.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah, and then Sessions of Spirit is the first one. So I got 20 videos in there already out of 38. So this is, I didn't record the first 10, but people really wanted me to start recording them because they were going to miss them. And so I thought people really need this. But the views are starting to grow. But people who are philosophers are starting to notice right away that something's very different about this way of teaching Hegel, where we're crossing impossible divides. So what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to appeal to everybody at first until we start making them more refined. But I'm hitting the big dialectics that have been standing for like 2,000 years, like the one between religion and science, or religion and philosophy, or between art and science, or logic and feeling. You know, like all these long-standing oppositions that tear our society apart and makes them, you know, it's like a divide and conquer kind of thing. The other thing that I make central in all of the 38 talks is that there is one part of the universal logic that is absolutely missing and is key, and more than anything has to be taught first. And that thing is called sublation. So I don't know if anybody has read Hegel or if you know what I'm talking about, Kai. Have you heard of, do you remember sublation?
No. You now what I want you to do is try. Teach.
So Hegel says there's 2 types of thinking. There's ordinary thinking, and then there's genuinely philosophical, wise thinking that he calls speculative thought. So all of us are right now in default mode ordinary thinking, which he calls abstract thinking, where when you are processing information, you are actually performing the universal logical step of abstract negation. So that causes separation, meaning that because you don't know its opposite, which is sublation, which is a return to self logically, all you can ever do is negate things around you. And if they sublate or they become integrated into you, it's by accident, which is why our friendships are so fickle, because we don't have intentional friendships. They're just accidents that we think we're designing. But the only time you're really truly rational and conscious is if you grasp sublation, which is the first negation, negated. Or in its positive explanation, it's that triad where the first moment is the abstract understanding, the second moment is where you negate that into an opposite, and then the third moment is that you idealize those two and you find the truth in both sides, and you find the variable that makes them different. Then that brings you to a transcendental point of view, which is the point of wisdom. At first, for ordinary thinking, they're not going to get it. So we already know that. Hegel even warns us that they're not going to get it. What you have to do is put it in familiar terms and just keep working it until some people catch on and you start building a new world spirit, one person at a time. then eventually it'll start to permutate and become part of the mainstream educational culture. So what we're going to do is, in the background, while we're trying to teach people this, it's going to take time. In the background, there's another document called the Synchronicity Document of Philosophies. The Synchronicity Document of Philosophies, even if people don't catch on with the Sessions of Spirit, it's going to blaze a trail with the scholars of the world, the ones that are ready for it and can recognize what I've done. We're going to win the Nobel Peace Prize with this document and get the first million and get worldwide recognition for it. That's going to get all of the ivory tower paying attention, and it's going to start generating credibility. Now you have to ask, well, what is the Synchronicity Document of Philosophies? Take all 3,000 years of philosophers before Hegel and put them in chronological order and give them each a column in a spreadsheet. Now every row in that spreadsheet is actually a concept that is in conflict, probably somewhere in society. You very simply map out what every single philosopher called that concept in their symbology. Some of them won't even have symbols for some of the concepts, but Hegel did everything. So everything's going to be ordered in this universal logic, the way that Hegel ordered it based on his Encyclopedia of the Philosophical Sciences. He's literally bringing everything into one living logic, which makes it so that all the oppositions and contradictions can be seen in one glance on one column. But then you can go to all the other philosophers, your favorite philosophers is like, what, 1,000? And you can actually see how they align their philosophy with his and see very quickly where the differences are. Now this is not going to be very important for the grassroots. The grassroots just want to hear that they're going to make $90,000 per year with the WeWa app. They're going to get less hours to work, they get their working hours cut in half, and they get the future of healthcare as a benefits package. That's what they're going to need to see. And they're going to need to see a crazy guy go on a hunger strike so they can trust him that he's actually got their backs. But the Synchronicity document is going to get all the power players on board to take it seriously so that we can start getting the churches on board, we can start getting the mosques on board and start sublating religions, which is about 2.5 billion people. All you have to do is talk to a couple of priests in Rome, a couple of pastors in Protestantism who really seek the truth, and they will recognize what I'm saying because, of course, Hegel sublated philosophy and religion in a peaceful, harmonious way instead of abstractly negating them. That alone, just that division, will unite about 2 billion people. So all these areas together is how you're going to start creating the spirit in a realistic way.
Depot for sure. So what part of that do you think a 4-year-old could understand?
The first website that I told you about. The rest of it, I addressed that in 10 seconds. The rest of it was for everybody else.
Wewa.com? W-E-W-A?
W-E-W-A. So it's a little outdated because I haven't been focusing on the website much, but if you go to the Peaceful Revolution section, it'll break it down into 5 levels, and the first one is for kindergarten. So you're right, you're thinking on the same level, right? It has to be at different levels of competency. And I tried. It's going to get better, but I tried. So I'm 100% on board with you that we have to find customized ways to meet people where they are. And with my limited capacity right now, I've started, but we need people who like you that understand why this is critical. The marketing is absolutely critical. That's why I've kind of taken such a broad sweep to try and get people started. And as people catch on to the true depth, I've been working on this for 20 years, so it's been about 70,000 hours, which is why I could probably answer almost all the questions you ask me, but it won't be perfectly. They'll be good enough to inspire people to start taking steps. And that's what's starting to happen. Now, that's how I found Twitch. That's how I found you, is that people are starting to notice that I'm able to answer the really difficult questions in a new and novel way, which is just really Hegel understood in its proper context. And the more that I just keep doing this, the more it'll start to make sense. And at some point, people get inspired to climb the engagement ladder, right? You know about the engagement ladder, where you start at the bottom, where you're like, oh, I'm just watching, and then you start taking more and more leadership roles. So for me, once you start getting interest, which is starting to happen, what do you do with that power, that interest? You don't want to waste it. I've been building teams for about 12 years now, so I've built dozens of teams, and I've seen many of them fall apart no matter what you do. The only thing that makes a team hold together is sublation and making sure it's explicit. So the first thing I do is once somebody realizes that I have the answer, or Hegel has the answer, they want to get on board, we make sure that everybody takes something called the wisdom quiz. And the wisdom quiz is a 3-part little quiz that first checks for your wisdom. So you give us your top principles of wisdom in about a sentence or a paragraph, what you lead your life by, because everybody has wisdom in them. The second one is if they want to check the competency of our team and our wisdom, they say, hey, here's these problems that if you don't solve, you don't have a hope in hell, in my opinion, of changing the world. And then we sublate those for them to show them how it's done. And then the third one is the graduation. We have 26 opposite pairs that are in conflict in the world right now. That if you build a team, guaranteed there's going to be at least one person that has one of those in abstract negation. And when they get into your team, they're going to seek their opposite, because that's the nature of consciousness, and they're going to rip your team apart from the inside out because they don't know how to sublate. So the very first thing is dealing with power and corruption, once you have awareness, has to be based on one universal meritocratic principle. And it's not intelligence, it's not expertise, it's not how quick you are, how smart you are, how beautiful you are. The only principle that's going to fix what's happening in the world is to make sure that people know how to sublate. That is it. And I actually have 10 people, I have to mark their exams tonight actually. But there's a bit of a process here, but you're right. I need help making the marketing better, but you can tell that I know that what you're saying is true, and I am trying, and so far it's working. But maybe with your help, you could actually get it into a much better format because your channel looks pretty amazing.
Homie, I'm an anarchist. You've just demonstrated like multiple levels of unbalanced power dynamics from a Foucaultian analysis perspective. I'm not a Hegelian, man. Like, at the end of the day, I am an old school anarchist to a huge degree in this capacity, and I'm seeing not a distributed topology, but I'm seeing a decentralized topology, which is all well and good, but there seems to be a cluster of power that are irregularities that I'm already uncomfortable with in this dynamic of this organization. So, like, you have to understand, like, my community's super skeptical here. They're trying to figure out whether you're trying to start a cult or whether it's just some other manifestation of pathological personality disruption. But that's where Chad is at this point, is they're trying to figure out what exactly this level is. But the truth of the matter is that you've used a lot of words to say not a whole lot. The truth of the matter is that I want to know, how does this do anything? Because from an anarchist perspective, what you've recreated is essentially electronic syndicalism at best. And at worst, it's a pseudo-religious interpretation of an app-based syndicalist organization. So I applaud the worker, the co-op thing, but at the end of the day, most anarchists are about anti-work anyway. So we want the elimination of this system to start with. So what we see is a buttressing of it rather than a true removal of it. And replacement therein. So there's multiple points along this process that we have concerns as a community of anarchists, and especially myself. But how does this feed the homeless guy in the corner for me? Because as an anarchist, that's our go-to, right? Food Not Bombs globally, we feed, right? This is the number one thing for somebody like me is, yeah, you can fight for the revolution, but there's change that needs to happen now. And what you're talking about is deeply speculative, deeply hypothetical, deeply cerebral. right? And requires organizational change of the human social structure on a global scale, as at a macro and micro scale, which is going to take time. It's going to take generations probably, because people have inbuilt biases that they've grown up with. We see it all the time when we're trying to demonstrate hierarchical thinking versus hierarchical thinking, which, you know, you've already demonstrated in the biased language that's been chosen for how the interaction between people in your group speaks. Right? Like, it's difficult to get outside hierarchical thinking processes when you've been encapsulated in them in your entire life. And we see that difficulty on a regular basis. And you're talking about a fundamental change in sort of socioeconomic and political interpersonal relations on a global scale. And so these changes are going to take a very long time. And while that's an admirable long-term goal, the fact of the matter is that somebody probably just died from rationing their insulin. Somebody just died from a preventable illness. Somebody just died from starving on the street corner, right? Like, there's a kid who's going to bed hungry right now. How does this address any of that in real time?
Wow, Kai, I have a good feeling about this, that you are asking all the right questions right off the bat. Okay, so to try and address some of that in an order, about the cult stuff and the personality disorder. So I actually preempted this because, you know, Hegel says and Foucault says and anybody says when you challenge the hegemonic structure, the first thing it does is it negates you and discredits you, right? And usually you end up in a mental hospital where you get stripped of your competency rights and then you're effectively neutralized.
Yes, but there's also the other side of that coin, where if you're going to make extraordinary claims, you have to provide extraordinary evidence. And you're making personal claims. You're making a rhetorical argument based upon your supposed knowledge set and revolutionary modern interpretation of Hegel. Therefore, you have to back those claims with some level of logos, ethos, or pathos, right? And so what you're hoping to do here is you're hoping to ride your own personal character, but we don't know you from Adam. So
I'm agreeing with you 100%, right? So in terms of the cult thing, you're going to get negated, and Hegel says you have to be ready for that. And so I said, yeah, no problem, because you're right. Cults do start up in this kind of way if you don't have universal logic that is self-determining. So the central principle of Hegel's one of his central principles is that spirit has to be self-determining. You can't get it from an external authority. You have to get it for yourself. It can only be thought by you, and that's what I think anarchists are trying to preserve. The whole point of this universal logic and the whole point of life is genuine freedom. Not abstract freedom, genuine, concrete freedom, universally for everyone, which I think is the anarchist creed. That's why I think we're going to sublate here. That's what Hegel says the point of the state is that it's supposed to support the individuals in their destinies of individual freedom, thinking with universal logic. The supersensuous essence is what keeps you in the unity. But you can have infinite particularities in the sensuousness because it doesn't matter. You don't have any icons or idols that are sensuous to worship. You worship them all because they're all in the essence of this supersensuousness, just pure logic. But it's universal. So I think in a way anarchists share those things in common, at least self-determination and genuine freedom. That's the point. Now when it comes to a cult, they don't want that. And then there's these charismatic people that become leaders and they look like they want all the power. But what if you have a leader that wants to give away all that power and warn their followers to think for themselves and challenge the authority figure? So the document that I sent you preempted this, and it's called Spirit Pedagogy, and the principle number 11 is how to teach people how to recognize when something is a cult and when something is a high-performance organization. And I cited 11 criterion from a third-party organization called the Cult Institute that teaches you how to recognize when when you're in a cult or warning signs of a cult and how to get out of it or how to dismantle it. So before you even get into the peaceful revolution, you're already learning how to dismantle it if it's a cult. Before you even get in, no pressure. Because I 100% agree with you, that's what's happening with the universal logic. People are abusing it once they grasp certain parts of it. They've been doing it with Hegel. Religions have been doing that as well. Hegel is very critical of religion in that way, but he also praises them in terms of the concreteness that they were trying to grasp. That's why he says when you become a genuine philosopher, a genuine scientist, an infinitely scientific person, you actually sublate religion, which means you preserve the concrete logic, but you cancel the sensuousness, the cultiness, and you raise that to pure thought. And then you think the concrete logic in pure thought for yourself, and you can challenge external authority at any point in time because the first negation, the critical moment, is part of the sublation. And if you see anybody doing that, it's not sublation, which means you can't be a leader. So the only thing that makes you a leader is that you preserve self-determination, you preserve the goal that everybody is genuinely free. So that's the contradiction that I love about Hegel, is that the power structure that unites you in some ways undermines the power structure to promote your freedom. And that's how you have this universal agreement. If you don't have this universal agreement, you're being naive. There is something that's uniting us, and it's reason. If you don't admit that reason is how we can communicate rationally in the first place, then you're not being rational, and it's going to undermine itself. So I think that Hegel brilliantly addresses this whole problem, and that's why at the very beginning, when you're getting orientated, the orientation process itself could be an indoctrination process, right? So we put in dialectical tools so that you can undermine, you can't join unless you critique the document. If you just accept it hook, line, and sinker, we also stand back and say, that's not good. You should be negating us and checking that this is right. That's step one. Then, if you want to do the wisdom quiz, then you can do the wisdom quiz. And then we check to make sure that you're not going to impose this weird, narcissism or myopic thinking. Because you're absolutely right, and I'm really glad your people pointed that out, because that's where we're starting. The second thing is, in terms of scale and time, you're right. Without sublation, this is going to take 50 years. With sublation, you can access economies of scale, and I think you know as well as I do that critical mass happens at about 3 to 10% of the population knowing about an idea. So for the first time in human history, we have global platforms like Facebook, like Twitch, where we can reach millions of people very quickly. In fact, you and I by ourselves already have probably hundreds or thousands of people. And if we got them to message one person, you will have 6 degrees of separation covered in literally perhaps a year.
You still have not successfully explained sublation to the point where chat has been repeatedly asking, what the fuck is sublation?
I know, but hold on. So that's the hard part, right? I knew it was going to be a hard part. So that's why I give you 38 ways to look at it, and one of them might resonate with you. Hegel says you can't absorb the universality of it until you see it in your mode. So that's why I've done New Age, I've done Christianity, I've done Buddhism, I've done atheism, I've done them all. I've done capitalism, socialism, and communism. I sublated all 3 of those. So if somebody asks you, hey, are you a communist? Hey, are you a capitalist? Hey, are you a socialist? Hey, are you an anarchist? You say, actually, I'm all of them. And they say, that's a contradiction. And say, that's the point of speculative thought. Universal logic is the only thing that can make those moments ideal on the same circle of reason. So what you do is, capitalism comes first, and you turn it into its opposite, which is socialism. Most people think it's communism, but that's an ideological flaw that's going to cause contradictions and separation for a long time. If you teach it in its right dialectical order, you can actually heal the left and the right, communist, capitalist, and socialist, because you're not negating capitalism. You're sublating it, which means you're preserving it as a moment. So think of it this way. Negation is a complete cancellation. It means throwing your opposite out with the bathwater. There's nothing you want to preserve about them. You're resisting them. You're trying to kill them. That's negation, the first negation. Sublation's not doing that. It's only doing half of that. You're still negating your opposite, but you're only negating the limit, and you're preserving the truth. So there's something you preserve in a sublation. It's not a complete cancellation.
But what is truth? What is truth?
About capitalism?
No, what is truth? I'm taking you to Epistemology 101.
That's beautiful, and that's where Hegel's a master as well, because his science of logic is a metaphysical masterpiece in ontology and epistemology.
Nope. I'm going to restrict you to middle school words, 8th grade or 9th grade at most.
Okay, so what Hegel does to find the truth is he uses 2 theories to double check himself, to make sure that something is actually true. He says, 1, you need to do what Aristotle did, and you actually need to check with nature in your actual physical reality. So a lot of people think Hegel was just a metaphysician out there like Plato, but he's not. He praises Aristotle because Aristotle sublated Plato. It just means he preserved something in Plato, but added something extra.
You got to stop using sublate. You got to stop using sublate.
Transcendent. He transcended Plato. And he kept the realm of forms, but he also tied it to nature. And so you have to check your knowledge against actual nature in what's called the correspondence model of truth. Then the second thing he says, though, that most people don't do, is there's a second model of truth that you do at the same time. It's called the coherence model of truth, where the logical categories are systematically ordered in their own consistency. That's what logic is. You have to make sure that your own categories make sense amongst themselves.
How do you overcome the solipsism problem with all of this observation?
Because when you achieve higher levels of awareness, you realize that your consciousness process involves the other always. Like, we know that a human being that grows up in a forest doesn't actually become self-conscious. They actually become feral children.
No,
and they adopt whatever patterns around them.
No. You've just violated one of my only cardinal sins here. You've asked for the miracle. Here's the thing. We don't know the nature of reality. Anyone who makes any claim to know the fundamental nature of reality might as well tell me they know the name of God.
That's what Hegel does.
Then congratulations, you're listening to a crazy man. Because that is no, it isn't. That is the nature of con men's, grifters, popes. Oh wait, I'm repeating myself. This is what people do. They explain the true nature of reality to people. Well, here's the fundamentals. Can you explain the true nature of reality to me? Do you know why the universe exists?
Yeah, actually, Hegel gives you an answer, but you have to think it for yourself. Remember the first two principles?
There we go.
It can't be told to you. You have to think it for yourself.
It's a religion. You're building a religion.
No, we're building a
No, you're building a religion.
Thinking.
You have just claimed to know the fundamental nature of existence, a question, an answer that is completely unknowable by the human mind.
That's what we think, but Hegel gives us a clever way to find out, and you can check it for yourself. I might be wrong, but if you're not open to hearing it, then I think you're making the mistake, right? That you're so closed off that you're not willing to let something challenge your model.
Homie, pivot hard, tape that ankle. Go ahead. What's the answer? What's the nature? What is the true nature of existence?
The true nature of existence is pure thought in dialectic. That's it.
There it is, folks. Congratulations. You got to Xenu without having to pay your $30K.
You're welcome. But if you want to understand that more concretely, you have to let it determine itself. But in order to do that, you have to see the categories think themselves without human bias. And so Hegel gives a pretty clever way to do this.
Did Hegel ever do shrooms?
He must have done a lot of things. I don't know. But I just read his writing directly, and I thought it through for myself, and I thought, okay, there's something here I've never seen before. But I think he's right. I think that without this dialectical understanding of ourselves, we're always going to fall prey to this dialectical process that turns us into the opposite of what we expect ourselves to be, because it's naive to think that you know everything. So dialectic undermines you all the time as soon as you think you know something. That's why you need two models to check all the time, to make sure that you're not falling prey to your own bias. I think it's brilliant. It's the most perfect epistemological solution to like know-it-alls, right? Is that you have to constantly keep checking and thinking it for yourself, and dialectic is about that. In fact, sublation is really just the negation of the dialectic itself. So I thought, you know what, if there was anything that was super critical and skeptical and self-checking and didn't fall prey to all these biases, it's his way of thinking of it, because it factors that in as a moment. But to give you a quick answer about like why are we here in nature, what Hegel says...
Guru says...
If who? What?
Guru says...
I'm not sure what that means, but just to give you one idea, and you can check it with your own favorite philosopher or whatever ideology, if it's the same universal logic, it'll make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you have freedom to critique it and negate it and make sure that we're checking all of our answers, which is what I did for Hegel for 3,000 hours because I was skeptical. But he won me over in the end because he gave answers that matched the 20 years of philosophy that I had read beforehand from all these hundreds of other thinkers. And I grasped the universality of what he had done. Because I was so well read, I recognized the breadth of what he had done, and the universality is the hard thing to do. He gets out of this myopia, and he says, how I built this incredible system is I just went back 3,000 years, and I listened to all the guys before me, seriously, and I took from each one of them what was probably the truth of their philosophy. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That's why I got to where I am. I think we need to have the humility to do the same thing. That doesn't mean submit, right? Because the first principle has to be self-determining. So he says, you have to think what I'm saying for yourself. Don't just trust me. Don't stay in faith. He says, faith is just the foundation. You're supposed to think it for yourself. That's what spirit is. That's what genuine philosophers do. And I just can't help but think this is like...
What part of the country do you live?
I live in Alberta, Canada.
Somebody check if we got a Food Not Bombs up in Alberta. Homie, you need to go make a sandwich.
I'm a vegan, and I'm a...
Food Not Bombs. Food Not Bombs is a vegan organization that uses free cycled and dumpster dove food to provide for homeless and people who are hungry. So we need to get
the homeless part yet, but that's great.
We need to get you out making a sandwich. This is ridiculous at this point, homie. Like, you need to remember what actually matters.
Well, I didn't get to the last part of your question, the practical and the homeless. So I ran an organization called Make Poverty History for 10 years. So our goal was to address global poverty, but also local poverty in Canada. So we actually ran a lot of soup kitchens. We did a lot of...
So go back to doing that.
We did a lot of stuff.
Go back to doing that.
Well, I did it for 10 years, and I found that it's never going to actually get solved, because it's not the way the structure is designed at the macro level, is that it's actually creating it. So we have to do something at the macro, like you said, but also the micro. We have to do it all. So I'm just going wherever you want me to go. I've thought about it all. And I think you're absolutely right. Your questions were spot on. So, I mean, that's why I'm addressing them systematically to show you that, yeah, we have hit all these points. Because there's a certain kind of hopelessness that comes over you.
You haven't actually hit all these points. Like, there's a lot of shit here that you're talking about this one man who, this is the part that you couldn't understand, is because I said it like a native Hindi speaker would say it. I said, Guru says.
Oh, Guru. Okay.
Because that's your response to everything. That's the response for a Sikh, is Guru says. Why do you believe that? Because Guru says. Why is it that way? Because Guru says. It's Guru says. That's the response. Everything for you is this hierarchical callback to this dude who did a review of other people's work, and you have a resonance with what he's pulled out through the filter. At the end of the day, can you name, like, I don't know, 5 other philosophers that have had an impact in this arena that, like, Hegel clearly pulled from?
Yeah.
I mean, there was requests for 20 from some of our more learned listeners, but...
Okay, let me go. I'll do it. Okay, so let's start from the top. So he pulls from Confucius, Parmenides, Zeno, Leucippus. He pulls from Anaxagoras. He pulls from Socrates. He pulls from Plato. He pulls from Aristotle. He pulls from the Stoics. Not Marcus Aurelius. He pulls from Jesus. He pulls from the Neoplatonists like Proclus and Plotinus and Iamblichus and Damascus. He also pulls from the Scholastics a little bit. He was very critical of the Scholastics, like Anselm Aquinas. 1,000 years of Scholasticism, he said, was actually postponing philosophy. So there's probably 20 there that I'm not going to mention. But then he talks about Bruno, Vivaldi. He talks about Descartes. He talks about Jacob Boehme as Germany's first true philosopher. He then talks about Leibniz. He talks about Jacobi. He talks about Kant. He talks about Fichte. He talks about Schelling. And that was basically everybody. I looked at his history of philosophy and I counted them. There's about 115 from his own history of philosophy where he shows how he went through all their systems to make his own.
And yet you still can't counter this one person in chat who is an egoist and a solipsist.
Me.
It's impossible. It is for Kat in chat. It is impossible for them to know the true nature of reality.
Well, that's true. We're approximating it, but there's 2 ways to approximate it. And then that's
No. You promised me the true actual nature of existence.
Oh, you're talking about 100% certainty.
Yes.
Well, okay.
How are you overcoming the certainty gap with all of this?
I'm not going to promise you 100% certainty, but I'm going to tell you that Hegel got pretty far. And
how do you approximate that percentage if you don't know?
because of all the other philosophers I read over 20 years.
If you don't know the nature of existence and the concept of infiniteness is considered within the possible nature of existence,
Yeah.
how do you approximate an estimation considering infinite is on the table?
Well, you're making the epistemological claim that unless you know everything, you can't know anything. So is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is you're claiming to know everything.
No, we're agreeing now because I'm saying what you're saying. If you agree with that first postulate, then yeah, I think we're thinking the same thing. I just
How do you claim to know the nature of existence? You can't overcome an egoistic / solipsist argument.
Well, how Hegel said, well, how you start it, Hegel or not, he says you have to, I think what we have to do is we have to repeat what Descartes did, but go further than Descartes' skepticism. And he says, well, if I can't trust my senses, my ego, right, what can I trust is a true foundation of actual knowledge? And he says, I think, therefore I am. Pure thought thinking itself, because even if a demon tried to trick me that I'm not thinking, I need to be thinking to know that. So I think it's pretty clever. But Hegel says, and I agree with Hegel, he's the only one that said this, so I can point to him, because he's the only one that said this. He said, actually, Descartes makes an assumption that his ego doesn't want to face, and that's that the ego exists at all, that the ego is needed to do the thinking at all. It's the biggest blind spot of the ego that not even Descartes caught. And I couldn't believe how amazing it was that I think he's correct. You have to negate even yourself. Why does thought need a self to think itself? Why doesn't just thought think itself? So instead of I think, therefore I am, for Hegel, it's thinking, therefore is. Truly presupposition, no ego, no assumptions. Literally starting with absolutely pure nothing, absolute negation. And he says that's the only way you can start real knowledge, or at least get closer to it.
So something that a human being can't achieve. Got it.
Well, he says you've got to try. And so he says when you try that, at least you get closer.
So all I'm hearing is that you should probably just do lots of acid and shrooms. Because ego death is...
think logically.
Ego death is one of the first things that happens on entheogenics. So why don't you just advocate for the shortcut?
Well, I did ayahuasca 3 times, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But what happens is when you go into the hyper world, right, you end up knowing, right? But when you come back, it becomes indeterminate. So you can't keep speaking, but you know it. So then when you try and share it, it comes out in a less profound way. It comes out kind of like, kind of a little bit empty.
Do you think that this Hegelian gibberish is somehow more profound?
From my experience anyway, what I remember experiencing on ayahuasca, on DMT, what his logic is doing is a fractal repeating that is kind of like those trips. And I'm like, it's just really profound. And I think he does have at least a version of what we experience on some of those trips. And he's explicated. He said, I'm just getting started. He said, this is an abundant thing. In fact, you guys are going to go farther than me. He said, I'm just getting the backbone set. And so that's where I was like, okay, so we're supposed to transcend even the master, like you said. He's not a myopic person. He said, everybody's a child of their time. He says, including me. I'm not even going to try and break out because it's impossible. But I can give you what philosophy is in my time. And then when you guys come along, you can sublate him, right? But when I was on my trips, I remember this distinctive repeatingness, the fractal nature, right? The cosmic giggle. And so when you're reading this dialectical flipping of the categories and the repeating, like the order is just kind of repeating, it's not bringing anything from the outside. It's actually doing it within itself, because you can't have something external determine something, or else it's not a part of the system. And if it's not a part of the system, that means there's a revelation. There's something that's unjustified, axiomatic. So a true system has to have its own method in itself to justify itself truly logically. And people are like, well, that's a contradiction. How do you make a system that has its own beginning as its end? Like, it's a contradiction. And he does it. He says you have to cancel the ego in this kind of ego death. And if you do it right, you get close to how to start in eternity. And he says he knows that's a paradox, but that's part of speculative thinking, that when you have absolute nothingness, when you don't think you know anything, not even the ego, there's nothing there. He says when you cancel even that canceling, when there's nothing left to cancel except canceling itself, you end up in another contradiction that creates the first true thought that is more foundational than Descartes' I think, therefore I am. And he says it is sheer, immediate indeterminacy. It's so little, you can't even say what it is. you can't even make an assumption about it. It's just pure affirmativeness that's not pure nothing canceling itself. And then he says, when you try and know what that thing is, that pure being, he says, it turns into pure nothing. And it's just like, it starts developing itself from literally that starting point. Literal presuppositionlessness. Like less than ego. And he says, you might be able to do better, but he says that's at least better than what Descartes was doing. And I thought that's pretty clever. And the rest of the system kind of builds on itself, and it took me 3,000 hours to check to see if he actually follows his own rule. And what I discovered was kind of shocking, that meaningless verbiage actually is a profound kind of clarity that is our experience at the psychedelic levels. We don't need drugs. Our brain is the drug trip. It's just that we're separated from our natural hyper-thinking because we're in a culture that's full of pain and abstractions and doesn't grasp the true living nature of how reality literally moves. And I think it's the closest thing we have, because he makes sense of all those philosophies. He doesn't just do an egoic, I'm the best. He says, no, I'm giving credit to all these other people because that's how the universe actually moves. And it's just a humbling experience. And you're right, I don't know for certain, but out of the hundreds of people and hundreds of philosophies, and I went to Taoism, Christianity, atheism, David Bohm, quantum mechanics, mysticism, New Age, everything. I went to a lot of places looking for the truth, and it just is sort of like he's hitting the right notes in the philosophies that I respect.
Have you ever considered that this is a selection bias on your part? That the reason that it checks all the boxes for you is because it checks all the boxes for you, and that that not necessarily checks all the boxes for everyone, or even a majority of people, and that your critical mass is not necessarily achievable with this set because not every key fits every lock.
Well, this is profoundly, you're right. And for me, actually, Hegel crossed my path twice before this third time. The first time when I was 13, and he didn't sound like he was doing anything. It didn't work for me. I actually went with other philosophers. And then about 10 years later, crossed my path again in university when I was taking philosophy academically. And it came across my path because of Kant, right? And nope, still didn't suit me. I was like, no, this guy's just, having an ego trip and thinking he knows everything and is obfuscating it to make himself sound smart. So I dismissed him again. And then about 5 years after that, I crossed Hegel again, but this time in a synchronistic kind of way, where I was actually in love with a woman that I didn't understand. And I felt like I was in these double binds when I was with her. And my friend sent me an article about Gandhi and double binds. And so when I looked into these things, I said, this feels like what I'm experiencing. It started getting to dialectical behavior therapy. And of course, Hegel has dialectics. So I looked at 10 different, dialectics is as old as philosophy itself. It's 2,000 years old. It's not even Hegel's thing. But there's Hindu dialectic, there's Socratic dialectic, there's a whole bunch of dialectics. And then there's Hegel's dialectic. So I read them all, trying to figure out how to love it. I didn't want to let her go, right? So I was trying to figure out, I wanted to solve this problem because I loved her. And so I was kind of, really in my ego, being sensuous and wanting, finite egoic things. And I read them all, and I got to Hegel, and he was saying something completely different than all the rest. And I didn't get it, but there was one paragraph I remember reading where he described what I had been experiencing so clearly, it just resonated. And I thought, oh my God, what if his whole thing is like that? And I didn't read him right away. I actually took another 5 years to actually get to this last stage where I put 3,000 hours in. But I didn't just jump into Hegel, and it didn't just fit my biases. It was actually the opposite. I had to force myself to read him after realizing that all these hundreds of other philosophers that did fit my proclivities, my sensuous ego, where I grew up, and my age and everything, I had to go against that to actually have the emotional resilience to withstand the incredible, brutal ego battling it takes to sit there for 1,500 hours realizing you don't know anything. It's really the limit of reading Hegel is not anything to do with your intellect. It has to do with how much emotional resilience you have to sit there while the text negates your abstractions in your mind and your ego thinking it wants to know something and that it does know something. And he kind of shows you, look, the only reason why I know this is because I actually listened to other people before I projected onto them. And that's his lesson. He says, you need to do the same thing. That's what sublation is. And I was just like, oh my goodness, all the stuff that I read in Buddhism, where they tell you to empty your mind, and it's just like it's on paper. He kind of threaded them all together. So for me, it wasn't like a biased thing. I had to force myself to get to this point. And now I see that resonance that I had when I was at that love moment with that woman, that resonancy is actually the whole thing. And I'm just encouraging people, if you don't believe me, just keep asking me questions, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Why have you adopted all of the New Age jargon?
You can actually use a bunch of different ways. So that's what the
you defaulted to it.
Well, I'm trying to appeal to a broad audience. So actually, 84% of the world's population is spiritual in some way. So there's a good chance that a portion of your audience is spiritual. And spirit has a double meaning. It has a secular meaning, as in like team spirit, but it also has a religious meaning. So it's a good word to go back and forth. Whereas if you just use mind, so Hegel puts mind and spirit as the same thing. But if you just use mind, it has connotations of just atheism, and you turn off that 85%. So I think Hegel is very wise to choose that word because it does have that nice double meaning.
You do realize you're talking to anarchists. No God.
I actually didn't know that. So
no gods. No gods. No masters.
If you're interested, the talk I just gave a couple days ago is called Absolute Atheism, where I explained from pure logic, no spirit or anything.
No, we're not atheists.
Huh?
We're not atheists.
Well, okay, so I'm just going to the other extreme. I'm saying, well, whether you're spiritual or you're atheistic, you can look at it either way.
Most of us, bunch of us, we're largely agnostic because that's the sane position to occupy, is to say, I don't fucking know the nature of reality. How can I speak on the nature of God?
Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little bit interesting, but in an atheistic sense, let's say, they think that the only thing that is really true about reality is logic, and that you have to prove things all the time to really know them, and the only way to prove them is through consistency and coherency, right? Modern science. And that's true. But they never think to apply that to the categories of their own thinking themselves. We take our categories of thought for granted every day, because they're so obvious, right? Why would you ever think to check the coherence of your own categories of thought? But that's where, I never ever thought to do that. I've never read any philosophers, except for Buddhism, that said you need to question your own, how your own mind works. Never mind what you're looking at, how your mind works with nothing in it. Yeah. And Hegel says you need to pick up where that is and make it more determinate. He says his whole philosophy is basically just koans leading into other koans. Because koans are to test if you understand the speculative contradictory nature of reality. And I thought, okay, well, how are you going to put that on paper when it's the ineffable speaking? Like, it's ineffable. You can't say what it is. But he says, once you do all that canceling, and you cancel that canceling where there's like nothing there, and you get to that pure being, that is the Tao. That is the unspeakable indeterminacy. And he says, the Tao, though, the trick, though, is that the Tao speaks itself in form only. It speaks itself universally. So it never gets into itself. It moves itself as a whole. The whole thing is always ineffable. And it rebuilds its own form as this pure supersensuous logic that emanates from that ineffability. And Hegel says that's true logic. We are just a fractal, egoic, like finite, ignorant version of that in sensuous reality that's trying to reunite with itself to try and know the truth. And I have to say, like, it's just kind of like, it has a coherence to it. And I thought, okay, well, at least he's taking other philosophy seriously. And he takes this, like, ignorance part, what you're calling agnosticism, he takes that very seriously and says, you need to start by questioning everything, including your own categories. So he says, that's what you start logic with. You don't do anything external. You take what you think you know, and then watch it do it itself. You're not doing it. The categories actually develop themselves. He says it's thought thinking itself. You're not even really there when it first happens. It's eternal. So he says it's got to be eternal. So the categories think themselves into their own logic through that dialectical process. And he says that's what God's mind is some version of that that's always completing itself, but you're always watching it through nature and then checking the coherence in your own mind because you're a fractal version of it returning to itself. And that coherence grows more as you are better at questioning things and putting them together in this proper sort of dialectical, critical way, and you're constantly checking. So the thing is, you can know something, but you have to make sure that you're not falling into the traps of either the abstract negation or what he calls positive identity. And as long as you're not doing those two things, you're doing sublation. You're doing some kind of speculative thinking that is the truer nature of reality. And I thought, oh my goodness. You know, I was like you, like it kind of dots the I's and crosses the T's, at least enough to make me feel satisfied that he's done something that nobody else has really done, and it's worth looking into.
You know, I had a really good mushroom trip I came down from one time, and I was listening to Jito Krishnamurti, and I was pretty sure Jito had figured out how to heal mankind for a couple of years. How soon after your ayahuasca trips did you read Hegel?
Oh, Hegel came 5 years after my trips. So it was quite a while. I came down a bit.
I find if it's a good trip, it carries change for quite some time. We lead into Bad Movie Night, and we are getting up there for us. So I'm going to have to pull this to a close because we have shitty movies to watch.
Okay, well, those are excellent questions. I felt like we covered actually what would normally take a month. We covered in 45 minutes. So I hope you're not disappointed. Like, I did have answers for everything you said, but if you want to go deeper, I will definitely answer your questions more if you'd like me to do that in written form.
No,
or if you want to go to the sessions, sure.
No, none of that. But what I will do is, if you're up to it, I will invite you to a VC call on the server because I know there's a couple of the community members that would like to ask you a couple questions.
Wow, right now? Or when would you like that to happen?
You know what? We will have time after stream. But the deal with our VC when I'm not streaming is nobody streams in it. So it will just be a call on VC. So when you're done, feel free. But if you would like it to be another time, that's fine. That's fine by us. But I have to call this to a close.
Sure. What's a VC exactly? Is
voice
that like another
chat, voice call on
So
Discord.
I should just go there now?
Tell you what, it's Spiritman23. If you want to check out, somebody do a shout out in chat, please, and thank you for Spiritman23 over on his channel. Yes. Here's the deal though. If you're gonna go over to voice chat and have a conversation with some of the community members there, I'm gonna need you to stop streaming.
Streaming what exactly?
To other people. Yeah. Record, streaming, all that stuff. Like, we want to just have a conversation, not document for posterity.
Okay, what I can do is, I can't shut down my whole operation, but I'll put Discord on my phone and I'll go to my other room where they're not being recorded. Is that okay?
I will see. Hey, Squee. But yeah, somebody mod staff, please and thank you in VC here in a second. And we'll get it arranged from there. Either way, Spirit Man, it's been a conversation, man.
You're a beautiful soul, Kai. You are actually quite amazing, and I really hope whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because I think you're on the right path.
All right, well, take care of yourself, man. All right, I'm gonna move you to voice chat.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk again.
All right, one of the mods, please and thank you. Hey, Squee. Let me drop off of on air. So we have Virus 2025 to watch tonight, the Christian propaganda film, right? I bet we could get away with watching that on air. Yeah, that's the Christian propaganda film with the virus that is, and they're hunting Christians. But the director and the star, she's fucking 16 or 15. They're banging the whole time. Oh, Jesus. Somebody get into VC, please, and thank you. Okay, there's the shout out. I got very salty because I was listening to gibberish. You can only listen to gibberish for so long. Philosophy is where conversations go to die. if you have to have a conversation about the meaning of existence, you've already lost the conversation. There's no point there. Nobody knows the nature of reality. And if you're hinging your argument on this epistemological claim as to understand the true nature of truth and existence itself, well, then yeah, you're going to get some pretty quick criticism, and people are going to laugh at you when you claim to know the nature of God. Like, yeah, there's some really hefty claims that were made there, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and there's no evidence other than the fact that Hegel found the idea itself to be truth, but even then, the argument made wasn't even that. No, there's, as far as I'm concerned, just go make a fucking sandwich. Just go make a fucking sandwich. All right. All right, I'll go over there. All right, and done. Keeps zippy. Fair enough. Sandwich greater than Hegel. Yeah, I don't know how that's supposed to reach a farmer in a rural area, both through tech and language. Also, Hegel's dead. I have criticisms. I have problems with the implementation of this idea set, at the very least. I never got a satisfactory answer with that. I really didn't. None of that converses to a 4-year-old. And the spirit I looked on the website. We looked at that. We pulled it up. The definitions for it doesn't, you can't communicate with a child. You can't communicate with a middle schooler even. You can't communicate with a rural farmer. You can't communicate with, there's way too many red flags for anybody in academia. The synchronicity talk, the epistemological claims without empirical evidence as such. This is going to, all of the ivory towers, like that's supposed to, there was too many problems across too many of the places. Like, there's too much woo-woo shit attached. And the fact of the matter is that, like, maybe the app could be a good stepping stone. If you could, you're still going to be tied into global currency markets unless you're going to use a cryptocurrency of some kind. And we've seen the problems with cryptocurrency, so why don't we need to go down that track right there? So there's payment issues with the app. It's still operating under capitalistic modalities, even though you are technically a worker-owned cooperative, maybe if you set it up correctly. So there's that. So at least you're moving the syndicalist direction. I'll take that, but again, still contributing. And then you're expecting like a level of technological adoption, I suppose, that may not be possible, especially with last mile internet and cell phone costs and environmental costs of the cell phones. There's a bunch of problems with the app. There's a bunch of problems with the pedagogy. There's a bunch of problems with the app. And then, there's semantical and linguistic complications across the board with like how to convey these ideas correctly. And this is coming from somebody who has to explain like the differences between hierarchical and hierarchical organizational modalities and how, distributed topologies work. Like, I understand and can empathize and sympathize with the position of trying to explain a complex topic that has a bespoke word attached to it that most people aren't used to hearing. But there's too much also flowery language that's associated and attached to new age movements and other woo-woo cult shit that is going to immediately red flag a whole host of people. Yeah, I have legitimate criticism still. I don't mean, the guy, I don't seem Jonestown-y yet, so like I don't think the guy means any harm. But I would like to see some discussions happen behind the scenes. All right. And he was German, so he's just bad for that. Hegel failed to consider the sandwich. All right. So let's see who we're going to raid over to. Let me catch up on chat, actually. No, you're trying to rationalize this world too much still? God damn it. Also, objective progress of history has culminated in long gone 19th century Prussia, Hegel 101. Okay. Let me just get over where I need to go over to. That's not what should be happening right now. I think I need to refresh. Hang on. Yeah, for sure I need to refresh. Oh, his stream hasn't even started. Fuck it. I'm dumping you on Rad and then I'm going over to VC. Good luck. Maniac, pet the puppers. Both are good, especially good. Mr. Yes, Mr. Sir. Unfortunately, you did. I just picture you dumping us all out of a wheelbarrow. Side tip, not even front tip, beast. Not even a front tip, fucking side tip. Just get the fuck out. All right. Oh, the man, the myth, the legend, the patron saint of bad movie night, Leo Breen, motherfuckers. Little pain in the forearm. Oh. All right. I'm pretty sure he's still streaming, just FYI. Yeah. All right. Peace out. See you guys on Monday. Take care. Love y'all. See you in VC.